and welcome back to Vintage Disney here on Brian's Things That Are Cool. From about 1987 to 1997, I was a Disney Channel fanatic. So in this episode, I'd like to take a look back on the programming that shaped my childhood. But first, as always, a little bit of history. Walt Disney Studio executive Jim Jimmero first brought up the idea of the company having its own channel in 1977, but was told no because at the time the company was developing Epcot at Walt Disney World. 5 years later, in 1983, the channel's founding president, Alan Wagner, was ready to launch. On April 18, 1983, the Disney Channel was born. Initially, the channel's programming schedule was a 16-hour block from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and was only available as a premium channel until about 1990, when it became part of the basic cable package. We'll start off our look back on the Disney Channel with our programming block for little kids. This is Totally Kids Only. Mousercise, which aired at 7:30 in the morning, started life as a kids' exercise album of the same name from Disneyland Records. When the Disney Channel launched a live-action show inspired by the album, it became one of the channel's very first programs. The show was hosted by Kellen Plastrud and, of course, Mickey, teaching kids how to exercise, along with tips on health and safety. So come on, everybody, and Mousercise. Next up, we have Jump, Rattle, and Roll, which aired on weekdays from 1991 to 1994. It followed a boy named Sam Baxter and his robot Dex, who looked like Johnny Five's stoner twin brother, and they would go on wild adventures in their basement with all kinds of cool gadgets and show Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Dex was voiced by Rob Paulsen, who voiced Pinky on Pinky and the Brain, and Raphael on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Sam Baxter, or R.J. Williams, now owns the company Young Hollywood. As fun as all those Hanna-Barbera cartoons on Jump, Rattle, and Roll were, eventually, like every children's channel, they want to educate you. Let's see how the Disney Channel did. Dumbo's Circus first aired in 1985 and ran for 115 episodes, and of course, was an educational series based on the film Dumbo. I guess the main difference besides the live-action format is that now Dumbo can talk. Dumbo is the only character from the movie that's in the show. Filling out the cast we have Rinkum Dinkum, Flip and Flap, QT, Lionel, Fair Dinkum. Okay, you get the point. The costumes you see were designed by Ken Forsay, who created Teddy Ruxpin. Moving on, we have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland ran from 1992 to 1995, and like Dumbo, took a classic Disney film and gave it an educational slant. I think that format is done a little bit better here, but it does suffer from being rather dated. Speaking of which, Tweedledee is played by Harry Waters Jr., who film fans may remember as Marvin Berry from Back to the Future. The series was filmed at Disney's MGM Studios, which has since changed its name to Hollywood Studios. With 100 episodes, including one unaired episode guest starring O.J. Simpson, for obvious reasons, the show should be remembered for offering an educational series that never talked down to kids. Well, the little kids are taken care of, but what about the tween demographic? Mickey Mouse Club? Take it away. The all-new Mickey Mouse Club aired from 1989 to 1995. This was the second time Disney rebooted the Mickey Mouse Club, the first being a 1970s version. When the Disney Channel began airing the original 1950s version, the studio decided that it was time for an update. To make it fresh, cool, and witted, they ditched the mouse ears in favor of Mouseketeer varsity jackets, and eventually changed its name to the more totally cool MMC. The all-new Mickey Mouse Club is best remembered today for launching the careers of major stars, like
Justin, Carrie,
JC,
Brittany, Ryan, Christina.
Every Saturday from 1994 to 1996, the Disney Channel gave us a block of their vintage TV shows. This is Drive-In Disney. Zorro from 1957. Guy Williams plays Don Diego de la Vega, who in 1820 Spanish-owned California fights for their crest as Masked Avenger Zorro. In its original airing back in the 1950s, it was very popular, second only to the Davy Crockett craze of 2 years prior. Despite its popularity, it ended after 2 seasons due to a disagreement with Walt and the network. During the legal battle, Walt filmed 4 one-hour-long episodes, and Guy Williams was kept on full salary, even making an appearance in Disney's Mark Twain adaptation, The Prince and the Pauper. In 1983, a reboot was attempted with Zorro and Son. Though it used the same props, sets, and costumes from the original, it was canceled after less than a season. The Adventures of Spin and Marty originally aired as a serial on the Mickey Mouse Club beginning in 1955. The serial, based on the 1942 novel Marty Markham by Lawrence Edward Watkin, starred David Stollery as a rich orphan boy named Marty Markham, and Tim Constantine as Spin, the most popular kid at a summer camp called the Triple R Ranch. The boys get into a lot of trouble at the ranch throughout the first season's 25 episodes, but everything ends up okay. The second season added Annette to the cast and Moochie, played by Kevin Corcoran. And the third season features a great old hot rod. It may seem quaint by today's standards, but its wholesome feel makes for an enjoyable watch. As a child of the 90s, Spin and Marty reminds me a lot of Nickelodeon's Hey Dude, which also featured the misadventures of teenagers on a dude ranch. A familiar setup that kept me coming back. Moving on from those vintage TV shows, let's enjoy some classic live-action Disney films. This is Disney Nighttime. Disney Nighttime aired from 1983 to 1997 and featured the Disney Company's older feature films as well as concert specials. And despite what this rather bizarre promo suggests, it was completely okay to watch this with your parents. Seriously, what's going on here? There are a ton of classic Disney live-action films that I grew up watching, but just to keep things simple, here are some of my favorites. The Absent-Minded Professor from 1961 has Fred MacMurray playing Professor Philip Brainerd, who has just invented a new flying rubber, or flubber, and sets out to save his college, Medfield. The movie was followed by Son of Flubber and 2 remakes, one in 1988 starring Harry Anderson, which actually got its own sequel, and one in 1997 called Flubber, starring Robin Williams. The original offers a great story, fun characters, and entertaining slapstick. The remakes don't hold a candle to the original. Also from 1961, The Parent Trap, starring Hayley Mills as 2 teenage twins who have swapped places to reunite their parents. Like many of the shows shown on Nick at Night, the older Disney movies were implausible but very entertaining. In the late 80s, Disney made 3 sequels to Parent Trap, including Parent Trap 2, Parent Trap 3, and Parent Trap Hawaiian Honeymoon. And of course, in 1998, the original film was remade with Lindsay Lohan. From 1969 to 1975, Kurt Russell starred in the Dexter Riley trilogy. In The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, an electric shock turns Dexter into a supercomputer. In Now You See Him, Now You Don't, he becomes invisible. In the final film, Strongest Man in the World, Dexter gains superhuman strength when a chemical mixes with his cereal. Something to look out for in all 3 films are the buildings that are used for Medfield College are in reality the Walt Disney Studios. In 1995, the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes was remade with Kirk Cameron. But with an excellent cast and great comedy, I have to say I prefer the original series. The Magical World of Disney, which aired on Sundays from 1990 to 1996, was a programming block that showcased specials and the Disney Company's original made-for-TV films. After 2 years of low ratings on the networks, Disney ended its broadcast television run of The Magical World of Disney and began airing it exclusively on the Disney Channel, which made its first made-for-TV film way back in 1983 with Tiger Town, starring Roy Schneider. Since then, they've made a whole slew. Here are a few that have stuck with me through the years. Back to Hannibal, The Return of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn from 1990 attempted to pick up where Twain left off, and had an adult Tom played by Raphael Sabarzi and Huck played by Mitchell Anderson, saving their friend Jim from a murder charge. The next year, the Disney Channel would produce a biopic on Twain himself with Mark Twain and Me, starring Jason Robards as Twain, who befriends a young female fan in the last years of his life. Both are loving tributes to the great Samuel Clemens. The Not Quite Human trilogy from 1987 to 1992 stars Alan Thicke as Dr. Jonas Carson, a scientist who has invented a teenage robot son named Chip, played by Jay Underwood. Dr. Carson sends Chip to high school to see how he'll interact with humans, sort of like a Pinocchio story. The second film, Not Quite Human 2, has Chip going to college, where he meets a girl who is also a robot. The third film in the series, Still Not Quite Human, sees Dr. Jonas Carson kidnapped and replaced with a robot Chip named Bonus, Alan Thicke in 2 roles. The Not Quite Human trilogy was a series I would watch again and again. It's very entertaining with a fun premise, good comedy, and a likable cast. Definitely recommend it if you're looking for a great sci-fi comedy. I stopped watching the Disney Channel around 1997, not because I was getting older, but things were changing, and not for the better. That's when it started shifting its focus to the more teeny-bopper market. They started cutting their animated programs and nostalgic films in favor of tween-oriented pop stars that, according to then-president of the Disney Channel, Anne Sweeney, became the major profit driver for the Walt Disney Company. Now, I understand profit, but I also value quality and variety, and the Disney Channel of today lacks both. Maybe, somewhere out there, there's somebody with a whole lot of imagination, and I hope they find their way to the Disney Channel soon. If you have a few shows that you remember, just leave them in the comments section. And if you'd like to be kept up to date as to when I release a new video, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I'm Brian, thank you and have a good night.